The one movie we would never, ever do
is another Batman.
Is another Batman?
We love James. We adore him. We support everything he's doing over there. We'd be happy to work with him at any point. It wouldn't be in Batman. No. We usually try to think of like a very offbeat or funny character.
Yeah.
And we were so tired when they asked us that question. We were like, all I can think of is Batman.
And now you're setting us up to think of it now.
I know.
Hello everybody, welcome to today's video. My name is Derek, and today we are talking about Avengers Endgame directors, the Russo brothers, who made headlines after suggesting they would like to helm the Batman reboot for James Gunn and Peter Safran in the DCU, of course, the Brave and the Bold film. However, doing the rounds to promote their upcoming Citadel film, the filmmakers have now said that the last character they're interested in bringing to the big screen is actually Batman.
The one movie we would never, ever do
is another Batman.
Is another Batman?
So there you have it. The one movie we would never ever do is another Batman. We love James Gunn. We adore him. We support everything he's over there, and we're happy to work with him at any point. But it wouldn't be Batman. So it sounds like they are going for something more offbeat or a funny character. They've made a lot of MCU movies, and even their more serious movies, well, hell, all of their MCU movies have been considered more serious than some of the other MCU movies, and even their movies have lots of humor spread throughout, and a lot of people assume that maybe that's just because of the MCU formula and the format, and that's certainly a possibility, but it could also be a Russo brothers formula and format. The Russo brothers also outside of the MCU, which, by the way, everything they've done in the MCU is some of my favorite movies in the MCU. I think it's some of the best movies that Kevin Feige and the MCU has put out. But outside of the MCU, I think the Russo brothers' track record has been hit or miss. They've put out some hits, they've put out some misses. And so immediately going over to James Gunn, Peter Safran, and the DC studios, I don't necessarily think it's a loud vote of confidence in saying, hey, we can put out great movie or television shows consistently that are outside the world of comic book movies. And I don't necessarily know if they've proven that quite yet. I think that, like I said, they're hit and miss. I think that it would be wise for them to maybe stay away from comic book movies for a little bit, because they've had wild success doing comic book movies. They could go to any other genre and experiment and really stretch their creative imaginations. And then if they wanted to come back, of course, I'd be welcome to it. I'd be welcome to it now. I just don't necessarily believe myself that it's actually going to happen. And after all, they have already put out 4 movies, so you gotta question whether or not they themselves are creatively fatigued from making comic book movies, creative fatigue from dedicating years and years to a movie in the same type of genre. This, of course, would be different since it would be in the DC universe, but the way James Gunn and Peter Safran are setting things up, it sounds like it's going to be similarly ran to the MCU, so it would probably be a somewhat similar experience for them as directors to direct something in the DC universe versus the Marvel universe. And just from a creative standpoint, I don't know if that would be the most interesting for them. And then you gotta ask if they are going to return to comic book movies, if they are struggling to find their footing outside of comic book movies, or even if they're doing great outside of comic book movies and they just want to come back to the genre. Do they choose to work for James Gunn and Peter Safran at DC Studios, or do they go back home to Marvel with Kevin Feige? After all, Bob Iger is back there, Kevin Feige is getting more power back at Marvel, and maybe the Russo brothers would want to try to retake their number 1 spot at the box office. I don't think it's necessarily impossible to see the idea of the Russo brothers returning to the MCU over the DCU, but that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And as always, take care.